first time doing dry January, I did not end up sleeping better. I did not feel more energized. I did not have a better mood. And overall, I didn't see any positive outcomes of spending my month, or in my case, almost 3 months, not drinking. In fact, overall, I would say the experience for the entire month was much worse. So I've been doing dry January for, I don't really know how long. It's been almost 10 years, I know that much. I just don't remember the exact length of time. I actually go for quite a bit longer. So my period of abstinence, I like to go through every single year, starts 1st of January, finishes on the 17th of March. That is St. Patrick's Day. I didn't come up with it. I spoke to my business partner, Gareth. He said one year that that's what he was doing, and I just loved the idea and thought it was a manageable but good chunk of time to actually spend a bit of time, first of all, without alcohol, putting something different into your routine so that you can start trying to change your routine, change your lifestyle, and learn bigger and better things. Not to mention probably saving money at the same time. Obviously, the fact that I've kept it going for so long probably hints that it has had some positive benefits for me, and I've actually got to see the benefits and what it can actually bring to my life. But that wasn't necessarily the case the first 2, maybe 3 years that I did this. Actually, surprisingly to me, the first year I looked at doing this kind of dry January stretch, not only did I not feel any better or feel any healthier or sleep any better, I also lost money. I thought in this video I would share my experience of trying out dry January. I'll tell you how I actually like to do things and what my journey of that has been over time. It's not necessarily been a complete upward slope of just positive outcomes and positive feelings, and maybe talk a little bit about why that might be the case. And just to be clear right from the very start, I think for anyone who's drinking alcohol regularly, especially anyone who's drinking a lot of alcohol regularly, having a period of time in the year where you stop doing that is going to be a really good thing for your body, for your liver, for your health overall. That's something that I absolutely recommend doing. This video is not to say that doing dry January is a bad idea. Instead, what I want to highlight is the fact that there's a lot of things going on in your brain and body while you are abstaining, and some of these are going to be good, some of these might not be so good. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how your brain really doesn't like big changes to your lifestyle. It doesn't like you changing your habits. And this is true for absolutely everyone. All of the habits that you've got are just representative of the routines that you've kind of fallen into over the years. Whether or not they're good or bad doesn't really matter in this instance. Your brain has just said, look, if you're doing this every day and it hasn't killed you yet, I would rather I knew what was coming than try to figure out what other dangers might be coming my way if I change my habits and change my plans and change the way that I'm running my life. So for your brain, when you decide to change your lifestyle drastically, and let's be real, if you are doing dry January, it's probably because your drinking levels are at the higher end of the range. The majority of people that are doing this have alcohol intake levels above or very close to the upper recommended amounts. So what does that mean for your brain? Well, you've changed your habits, so that means 2 things. One, it's costing your brain energy because it has to figure out this new way of being. It's got to figure out what the new rules are of your life as it currently is. And 2, it's going to be scared. When you're changing your habits, you're entering into the unknown. You're doing stuff that is unusual and different to your brain, and so your brain doesn't know what's coming next. So when you have a big change to your lifestyle, stress levels are going to go up. And that was basically what happened to me. I was very used to socializing in bars a lot of the time. And when you stop drinking alcohol and you're very, very used to socializing in bars, and all of your friends are very, very used to socializing in bars, it can be very, very difficult to just go and keep doing that while resisting all of the temptations around drinking alcohol that get presented to you. The solution that I came up with was I pretty much just didn't go out for that 3-month period. I figured it would be just easier if I didn't bother attempting to socialize, and sure enough, that just meant I was really bored all the time. My stress levels were probably slightly elevated. I didn't notice myself being stressed, but I noticed myself just being annoyed at having nothing to do. I wasn't comfortable being in my own house. I didn't spend a lot of time in my own house. I live in London. That's just kind of a thing that people often just spend all their time out, and so then I would come home and have to figure out, well, what do I do when I'm here? What can I actually do to enjoy myself in the evening other than doing what I normally would have been doing? Really, the only 2 things that you can do to improve on this is 1, plan better, and 2, do it for longer. So planning better, have a think about all of the things that are going to be different before you actually get into the month. So before your stress levels start to go up, it's better to, in December or November or whatever you want, actually start making a list of like, what are you going to do when you're super bored, or when you get all of these questions of, you know, why are you not drinking? Why won't you come out with us? All of those types of questions you want to have answered in your head in advance so that it's a bit easier, especially if it's the first time that you're doing this. And then on the second side of things, you want to do it for longer, whether that's the way I chose of actually extending the period of time, so I've just got a longer amount of time to get used to it, or on the other side, do it for more years in a row, so you can learn from this January and be better prepared for next January, so that you might have lower stress levels because you knew what was coming up, you knew what to expect, and so your body actually has more time to enjoy some of those actual health benefits that you will be getting from getting rid of alcohol out of your system for a month. Well, on the other side of the habit change thing, January comes right after December, so not only are you giving up alcohol for a month, I'm willing to bet that every single person who drinks alcohol drinks more alcohol in December than they do on pretty much any other month. If you're drinking at levels above what your body's current tolerance is to alcohol, you're going to get stronger withdrawal effects after the fact. Poor sleep, anxiety, lethargy, all of the things that are the opposite of what you're supposed to be getting as benefits from going cold turkey. And the important thing here is that these are symptoms. So it doesn't mean bad things are actually happening to you. It just means that's going to be your experience. The harder you go in December, the bigger the contrast it is from one thing to another, the more prominent and noticeable those things are going to be. And again, as you get more used to it, if you're doing this more years in a row, and especially if you're doing a longer stretch, then you'll probably find that you get enough time to ride out these negative symptoms and get into the positive. The other things that could help to accelerate getting out of this phase of negative symptoms is adding in more movement. So as I said, when I did this the first year, I just kind of stayed in, either watching YouTube or TV or something like that. I can't remember what, but there wasn't a lot of movement involved. And if you're really hoping for a detox to your system, all of those toxins only get out of your system through your lymphatic system. That's the system that clears out all of the toxins, and to get that to do any movement at all, you need to be moving yourself. Yeah, as you get your blood pumping harder and harder, then those toxins are going to get flushed out quicker and quicker. And on the subject of detox, another thing that might be happening that might be making people feel worse when they're doing this dry January period is maybe actually a month just isn't long enough for you, especially if it's the first time. So there's a lot of articles that say, well, 1 month is more than enough time for your liver to completely repair itself. But what it doesn't take into account is how long have you been putting loads and loads of different toxins, alcohol included, but it's not the only one, into your liver in the first place. If there's been loads of stuff going in for a long time and the liver cannot process it fast enough, it's going to start storing it. And what you might find is a month may be enough time to process what's currently in there, but maybe there's other stuff stored that could be stored in the liver itself. Eventually then it gets stored inside fat cells around the body, and once you get to the point of cutting out alcohol and your liver is actually starting to detox, well then the next thing, it's not just going to stop at what was currently in the system. It's going to look at everything else that is stored and go, oh cool, this is empty, I'm going to have a go at getting rid of this and getting rid of this. And as it starts to break down some of those toxins, you're going to start feeling those same kinds of withdrawal effects from the toxins that have been stored maybe for many, many years. So again, this is a good thing, but it might not feel like it. And for a lot of people, one of the other reasons they don't see positive benefits from giving up alcohol is they've been using alcohol to literally ignore the signals that are coming from your body, whether it's from muscles, from organs, from even your brain itself. That's a strong reason why people like having a drink in the evening, is because it just calms down all of the racing thoughts that go through your head. This was definitely something I was guilty of when I was working insane hour weeks, 7-day weeks up to 50, 60 hours sometimes. It was a lot easier to just find a way to ignore the problems than to actually admit that you're starting to burn out. Unfortunately, what that causes is your brain is now suddenly unable to read the signals from your body very well. So you can still be getting the signals of I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm in pain, and your brain has got so used to trying to drown those out and trying to ignore them that once they start coming back, it's another thing that starts giving you stress and anxiety, because now your brain doesn't have what it had previously to fall back on, and it has to actually start listening and figuring out which signal is supposed to go in which box, which ones are positive, which ones are negative, which ones matter and which ones don't. And this is one reason why I really recommend focusing on some kind of mindfulness practice, whether or not it's actual meditating and sitting and listening to your thoughts, or it's just paying attention to what you're doing and how you feel when you're going through this dry January period. It really helps you to actually notice what things are good and what things are not. If you are just not drinking and still leading the same stressed out life where you're not able to pay attention to yourself, you're probably going to find all of those negative things I mentioned before are going to be amplified, and the good things are going to be there. They're definitely going to be there just because you're getting those health benefits. You're just not going to be able to notice them. So that's literally all I can think of for now. I hope that wasn't too depressing. I wanted to share a little bit of my story and a little bit of what I've kind of learned about why that kind of happened to me in those first 3 years. I just felt worse and angry and irritated and not able to sleep well. It got much better as the years went on, as I got more used to figuring out this part of my life, and I actually got to the point where I start really enjoying this January to March period, because it's a really nice time to figure out what can I do differently, and by doing it for 3 months, see, maybe some of it's actually going to stick, and I keep it on throughout the rest of the year. And throughout that, I've actually noticed my drinking generally has just gone down year on year as well anyway. So there's been lots of positive benefits outside of that portion of the year because of the work that I'm able to do inside the year. So that brings us to the end. I really want to thank you very much for watching. Please do give us a like or a dislike. Let me know, is this something you enjoy watching or you'd like to see less of? It just helps me know what we can give you next.